The views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal, and do not reflect the views of any organization. Hello and welcome my friends to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Now this is Independence Day weekend, so I thought that I should use this occasion to share my dream of India at 75 as we head into the 75th year of independence. An India where harmony prevails over hate, where those who target any citizens on grounds of religion, caste, community, region are prosecuted and convicted. Hate, my friends, cannot be normalized in society. The culture of impunity promoted by those who shout slogans against a community just outside Parliament, believing that they can get away, must stop. And no tedious what-aboutery of competing religious identities. A modern progressive society has no time for exploiting historical scars to settle scores in the present. I don't want to know what happened 200 or 500 years ago. I want a better, less hateful and certainly more harmonious India today. Just throw all those who engage in hate speech cutting across communities into jail cells, into the same jail cell, and toss away the keys. An India where opaque governments do not try and hide COVID deaths, where data is not falsified to create a fake perception that all is well. Why should a citizen's death certificate, my friends, not provide an accurate description of the cause of death? If there is a shortage of oxygen that has led to a death, please admit it rather than getting tangled up in some medico-legal jargon. When bodies are found floating down the river Ganga, please, my friends, do not engage in some perfidious cover-up by refusing to even acknowledge the scale of death and despair. I have a dream, my friends, for an India of equal opportunity and equal access to quality health care and education, where public health systems and public education systems put the Aam Aadmi above VVIP privilege, where no one is denied a hospital bed in an emergency or a school seat for his or hers, where, my friends, we build more hospitals and schools than we build places of worship, whether they are temples or churches or mosques, where our doctors and not the self-styled godmen are our true ambassadors of devotion and compassion, our true heroes. An India of my dream where we see less divides and we lessen inequalities at all levels, where poverty alleviation is seen as the greatest public service one can do to humanity, where when a lockdown leads to mass migration of daily wage labor, governments are not in denial, where the gaping digital divide, for example, that we see in schools around us because of online education, that divide must be lessened, where we do not allow only certain students to have access to smartphones and technological literacy. Technology must become an enabler, not a divider. An India where Parliament is the ultimate symbol of democratic values of debate, dialogue and dissent, where we do not see the kind of scenes that we've seen in the last few weeks of obstructionism, of rowdyism, or indeed of governmental unilateralism, where Parliament is not run like a big boss house by diktat or as a fish market, where our MPs, whether they are from the treasury benches or whether they are from the opposition, recognize that they are elected representatives who are accountable to to we the people. Parliament cannot become an extension of a domineering executive where a government by brute majority pushes through bills, nor can the opposition stall important legislation. The India of my dreams, where those accused of snooping and violating the right to privacy of individual citizens are subject to scrutiny by institutions, where a free and open society that cherishes its democratic freedoms must fight for those freedoms and ensure that those violating it are censured and, if necessary, prosecuted. An India, my friends, where democracy is not going to be reduced to a once in a 5-year ritual where you and I go and cast our votes and then forget about it. What we need is elected representatives who are not our feudal lords but who are accountable to we the people, where citizens can engage their leadership in robust interaction and force them out of their high security VVIP cocooned comfort zones. Bridge the gap between the leader and the led. An India, my friends of my dreams, where those who are ideological opponents of any government are not instantly labeled anti-national, where we do not confuse a majority government in power with nationhood and nationalism, and begin to realize that true patriotism is not a blind acceptance of government diktat, right or wrong. In fact, true patriotism is about having a constantly questioning attitude, especially when there is a misuse of power. My India of my dreams is one where colonial laws like sedition are struck off the statutes and dissent is not criminalized. An India of my dreams which respects federal pulls and pressures, where an authoritarian Delhi leadership doesn't always know best, where states are not going to get divided on the basis of party affiliations, where when the police forces of two states fire at each other, the center immediately intervenes and works to reconcile differences in an amicable manner, where local antagonisms do not spill into violent conflict, where the periphery of our country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Mizoram to parts of Daman and Diu or Lakshadweep, matter just as much as the heartland. An India, my friends, where constitutional authorities do not abuse their power but instead retain their autonomy and their independence, where the Election Commission acts as a genuine neutral umpire and not as a 12th man of the government in power, where enforcement agencies are not misused to settle political scores, and where judges are not compromised by an overbearing executive. An India, my friends, of my dreams, where those in charge of our economic policies are also snapping out of denial mode, where the true state of the economy isn't determined by a rising Sensex or fanciful V-shaped graphics, but by the reality of falling incomes and falling jobs, where a shattered informal sector and micro and small enterprises are at the heart of economic policy initiatives and not fat cat crony corporates who have very little to lose. An India of my dreams where protesting farmers are not treated as enemies of the state but as sons of the soil who deserve a fair hearing, where the angry farmers are not barricaded behind iron nails and barbed wires but instead are encouraged to return to the path of negotiation and conciliation. An India of my dreams where a woman isn't assaulted every 15 minutes, where convictions in such crimes are swift and assured, where the family of a victim doesn't have to wait for years to get justice, but where witnesses are not intimidated into changing their testimony, where a woman's dignity is not compromised by typically misogynistic attitudes. An India of my dreams where local tribal groups are not denied the rights to their land, their livelihoods, their forest rights where they've lived for centuries, where those who stand up for the rights of the marginalized, whether Dalits or whether they are tribals, are not labeled as urban Naxals, where when an octogenarian priest is arrested, his lifelong commitment to tribal rights, for example, is not demonized as terrorist activity on the basis of scant evidence. An India, my friends, which recognizes that climate change and the environment is one of the biggest challenges of the 21st century, where policy makers address this ecological crisis, whether it's forest degradation in our mountains or deforestation in our mountains, or whether it is the manner in which our coastal areas are being encroached upon. Global warming, air pollution are not elite preoccupations, but they will ensure a better life for our children, including the right to breathe. And India, my friends, given the current mood, that genuinely becomes an Olympic power and not just a cricket-obsessed country, that we don't have to wait for another dozen years to throw up the next gold medalist in this country, where even as we celebrate our Olympic stars, we remember that a sports culture will only be built when we win medals consistently and build more playgrounds across this country. And yes, when next time our athletes win medals, their images are larger than those of the politicians. As a postscript to this India of my dreams, the dream is not just for a better India, my friends, but also for a better media. One which puts sense above sensation, news above noise, and yes, speaks truth to power rather than bends before it. Think about it, and happy Independence Day. That was the Straight Bat. Thanks for watching. Remember, do subscribe to my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, stay well, stay safe. Namaskar. Jai Hind.